Ford Jackson Hospital, Jarrod Johnson. Hi, Jarrod.
Bert, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to JTV.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and welcome to Jackson.
Thank you again.
How are you liking it so far?
You know, so far so good. Nice weather. Now we haven't gotten to January yet, but nice weather.
Yeah, just wait. So you're from, well, actually you're an East Coaster.
Originally from New Jersey.
So you've experienced winter.
I started my career in Wisconsin, so.
Oh yeah, it could be even worse.
I'm used to the
there.
upper Midwest. Yeah.
But most recently, University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Yes, I was down south for a brief time, about 2 years, and nice and warm down there year round.
Well, great to have you here, and great to have you move into the community, and we welcome you and your wife to Jackson. Curious, coming from Alabama, what was it about Jackson and Henry Ford Health that attracted your interest?
You know, Henry Ford is a reputable system, and I remember back in graduate school we had a recruiter from Henry Ford come to try to recruit fellows for administrative fellowship positions, and I was unsuccessful then. But kept my eye on the organization, and I saw the opportunities, especially the one here in Jackson, and decided to apply. And all the stars aligned, and the Lord gave me favor, and here I am. So. I think it's a great organization. I think Jackson has a great future being part of the system, and I think their best days are ahead of us.
Well, this community is really excited to have Henry Ford as our health system. You've had a chance to explore it a little bit. You've been in town for a few weeks, so you've had a chance to meet a few people. What are your impressions of Jackson so far?
Folks are very prideful for Jackson. There's a lot of community pride here. It's a close-knit community. Everybody knows one another. I think they rely on organizations such as Jackson Hospital to ensure, trust their health care with. And it's just a good place with, folks that are personable and, professional at the same time. So I think it's a really good community in order to, live and to work.
I've heard that you are telling people in your first weeks you're on a listening and learning tour. So what have you heard so far? What have you learned?
Well, I had 2 years in one mouth, so I try to make sure I use both of them to my best ability. But learning the people, learning the culture of the community, the organization, learning how folks interact with one another, what they expect, and it's been great. Listening to those wants and needs of the community, but also across the hospital, talking to physicians, talking to our team members, and just engaging with people, just understanding that Jackson has a lot to offer families and individuals, but the hospital also has a great responsibility to serve the community.
So in that vein, besides being our healthcare provider, what areas, how do you see the hospital fitting in as a community member? Yeah,
well, number one, you got to provide the best health care, so people don't leave the community to seek health care elsewhere. So that's number one. I think number two, the hospital has to be, an employer of choice. Places where, individuals want to be able to serve the community. And then thirdly, I think, just being a great community partner. There's so many things that the community offers to its citizens. We offer, of course, healthcare services, but there's so much more we like to wrap our arms around to try to make sure we take care of the total person in the community, not just the healthcare needs.
What are some of the things that you see Henry Ford doing in terms of partnership? What areas of the community have you discovered that might be great potential partners?
Well, one of the big things is, I don't want to get into politics, but the Medicaid requirements by states, and we will hope to be a good partner with many of the agencies to ensure folks get enrolled in healthcare insurance, because everybody deserves to have health care. I think there's a lot of social determinants of health that affect folks' well-being, and so not only providing the care, but also being a partner to many of the agencies that wrap themselves around the different aspects of people's lives, like food and jobs and education. We want to be great partners along those lines too. So we don't see ourselves as just a sole provider of services for healthcare, but we also want to be able to wrap ourselves around the entire life of individuals.
You were last at a really big health system, UAB. What do you see, since you've been here, in terms of what Henry Ford offers? What are the strengths that stick out to you about Henry Ford Jackson?
I think Henry Ford Jackson's been here for a long time. So it's a pillar in this community. So that's number one. It's not going anywhere. There's nowhere but up for us to continue to grow and to provide services. So that's number one. Number two, the affiliation with Henry Ford Health System has been a great one over the last 10 years. And I think, for the future, it's going to enhance. It's going to enhance what we deliver to our communities. It's going to enhance, the partnerships that we have in the communities. And it's just a great thing for us. So I think those are the two things that stick out the most to me immediately.
Henry Ford Jackson was the local, small town, independent hospital for its entire life until Henry Ford came along. For those in the community that are wondering what that means and how that matters being part of a major healthcare system.
For organizations right now, in the current external climate for healthcare and how it's delivered, it's increasingly hard each year to remain independent. And so I think the affiliation with Henry Ford is a great one because it brings expertise. It brings stability to healthcare delivery in the communities that we serve. And I just think overall, as we continue to evolve with the external environment is evolving in healthcare, it's going to position us uniquely to continue to provide the services and to innovate and grow services in this community that the community needs.
Yeah, so we just saw last week Sturgis Hospital in Southwest Michigan closed. We anticipate there will be other small community hospitals that will no longer be able to survive. How do you see the strength of our healthcare system here in Jackson?
I think we're here for the long term. We've been here forever, and I think we're going to continue to thrive. What we have to keep our eye on, and what's kind of different in healthcare than a lot of industries, is healthcare kind of evolves all the time. And so you have to keep your eye on the external environment, meaning factors in Washington, D.C., for example, things at the local level, the state level. You have to keep your eye on those things, because in healthcare, I always tell people you have to be nimble and flexible and agile, because as things change, you got to be able to change with them. So when I talked earlier about innovation, we got to continually look to the next innovation. What is next for healthcare and how we deliver it? How do we change the care delivery model? How do we create programs and services that are going to reach patients where they are, not necessarily in the hospital or in the ambulatory setting. So these are things that continue to keep us hungry, keep us on the cutting edge of innovation, so we can continue to deliver the best services. The smaller hospitals, unfortunately, there's a lot of factors they have to overcome, and the external environment doesn't really lend themselves positively toward them. So you have to continue to work with what you have and continue to form those partnerships we talked about a little earlier that deliver healthcare.
And I think a lot of people realize this. Here we have a level 1 trauma center, and you've got experience with that. What does that mean to a community?
Level 2 trauma center.
Level 2.
But what it means to the community is, it's just more that we can offer to the community. It's less of the community having to leave this area for healthcare. And the beauty about being part of Henry Ford is not only can you keep most of the services that you need here in Jackson, but we have the strength of coordinating care across a network. And so if there are needs, like for example at Jackson, we don't do transplants. But if there's a need for a transplant, there's Henry Ford Hospital downtown Detroit that we can coordinate with our providers, with their providers, and provide that continuity for patients. And when they are done with their high-level quaternary or tertiary need, they come back to Jackson and we care for them the same.
Yeah, the downtown Detroit is changing, and Henry Ford's building a brand new state-of-the-art hospital, super hospital. Yeah. That's going to be great for Jackson too. Absolutely
great for Jackson. And I talked about a network of coordinated care, and so that's going to enhance the services that we can provide across the entire network, Henry Ford network. So it's exciting, to be part of this hospital in this community, and knowing that we have a full-fledged healthcare system with a lot of sister facilities that we can help drive, character.
Well, I think football fans are excited that you're here because we've discovered that you played in the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you haven't changed a bit. It's maybe you've lost a few pounds.
A lot of weight.
And I'm not violating HIPAA, but I understand you had a few dings and bangs and dislocated kneecap or a concussion or two.
That's bad stuff.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but there are other connections to the Pittsburgh Steelers here in Jackson.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Tony Dungy.
Yeah, Tony Dungy.
He was born here.
Is that
born
right?
and raised.
Didn't know that.
That's right. And Russell Davis. Now, these are people you might, as grown up in New Jersey as a kid, I understand that you were a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
I was. My mother's side of the family is from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, so I spent my summers in Johnstown, and so I had no choice.
So Russell Davis, of course, Tony Dungy, Super Bowl champion,
Yeah.
coach extraordinaire. Russell Davis came to Jackson and was athletic director at Jackson Public Schools before retiring, but he played for University of Michigan and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was there from 79 to 83.
Yeah.
So you were there.
I was a little kid. I was there
Yeah.
in the 1991 season.
Well, he might have been one of the kids. He might have been one of the players that was a hero of yours.
Well, you know, growing up, there were a lot of heroes. And the nice thing about Steelers in training camp, you know, a lot of the stars from the 70s, all those Super Bowl teams, they always come back. The alumni come back and make themselves available to all the younger guys in camp. And so we're able to talk to them and meet them. And, you know, just their presence, you know, makes it feel like, you know, it's a family affair. And really the way Mr. Rooney runs the organization, I mean, it's really a family-run organization, and so I had a lot of fun and learned a lot of leadership lessons. Probably the best one would be, you know, Dan Rooney, who was the owner at the time, he was the former ambassador to Ireland. I'm sitting in a portion of the locker room, and I'm getting dressed after a practice, and he comes walking back, and I'm the only one sitting back there getting dressed. And he sits down on the stool, and he says, "Jarrod, thank you for being part of the team. Thank you for, you know, working hard and everything you do for us. I'm happy to have you on the team." And, you know, 22-year-old kid, I'm starry-eyed, right? You know, playing for my childhood team that I used to root for, and that was one of my first leadership lessons. That a leader of the organization came, sat down, took time, and I'm not a star on the team. I just barely made the team, right? But valued me and valued my contribution to his enterprise. And so that taught me a lot, that everybody that's on your team, no matter what industry you're in, is valuable to your team. And so you have to recognize that as a leader, and you have to use that to maximize everybody's value.
So that's the kind of hospital president you're going to be. You're going to walk around and you're going to poke in on doctors and nurses and support staff.
Visibility is important. You got to be competent in knowing the business, but visibility is important. You know, I had a mentor tell me one time, the higher you go up in an organization, in any organization, in any industry, the more people you depend on. And so you have to make sure that everybody contributes, everybody knows they have value in the organization. And I think you have the best organization if you can have the best people.
So having that background, playing football, Lehigh.
Yep, Lehigh University.
And then
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
And then on to, and I think you went to high school at Lehigh too.
Now I'm from New Jersey, so I went to high school at Seton Hall Prep in West Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
And then got recruited to play football at Lehigh University.
So not only do you have the football background, but you competed in a lot of karate tournaments, and you were actually the national champion as a 12 or 13-year-old?
Yeah, so from the ages of probably about 11 to about 15, I participated in karate and didn't get into it to compete. You know, it was just, we had a cousin of mine, we had a coupon and we went and we just took a couple of free classes, decided we liked it, and we kept doing it. What that taught me though is, and this is more individual, it taught me in order to succeed, you have the ability to control your own destiny and how hard you work, you know, how much work you want to put in, and how dedicated you are to making sure and consistent you are to making sure you want to be successful. So that's what that taught me. And then, I had the bonus of being able to compete. And, so through the years of 1981 to 1983, I was a state champion in New Jersey 3 years in a row. 81, we went to the national championship in Cape Cod, Mass, and wound up winning the national championship. I couldn't compete the second year in the national championship because it was in Chicago and my family just couldn't afford to go. But the third year in '83, they were back in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And so we decided that we were going to go there, and I got my belts back, gold medal. And then I had to make a choice between playing high school football or continue to take karate, and I chose football.
But football was going to be harder, wasn't it?
Not really. It was my first time playing because I couldn't play Little League because my parents wouldn't let me, but they decided to let me play in high school. And, that's practice every day. And, you had to go to the dojo for karate 3 or 4 times a week. Just couldn't be in 2 places at one time. Plus I had to be a student too. So it was fun while it lasted. It taught me a lot of good lessons, but, I don't regret playing football.
It's interesting, the lessons that you're describing that you learned as an athlete, student and pro, they're still here. They're still within you today, and you're still using them.
Will never leave me, ingrained in me. I always tell people, you mentioned Lehigh University earlier, the greatest honor I ever received in my life, when I was a senior and we're playing the team from Easton, Pennsylvania, I won't mention the name of the team, which is the oldest college football rivalry in America. The team voted me team captain the night before the game or the week during the game. And I'll never receive a better honor than that because they entrusted me and said to me, you displayed all these qualities that we like that helped us be successful this year. We're going to vote you captain of the team. And so I'll probably never get another honor bestowed upon me greater than that one. But it taught me and helped me realize, hey, you got the leadership skills. You need to continue to connect with people. You need to continue to use those, to grow your career, but also, enrich people's lives.
And you have not left sports. You're still involved.
Still involved.
What do you do? You're in football.
So I officiate college football. I've been doing it since 1999, started in high school for 10 years. And then since 2009, I've been a college official. Started in the Mountain East Conference, working for Gene Steratore. And now I'm in the Coastal Athletic Conference or Coastal Athletic Association, the Ivy League and the Patriot League. And so it's fun for me because it's the FCS Division I level, and it's fun for me because I played at that level at Lehigh. Lehigh's in the Patriot League, and so it's a lot of fun to be able to go back and see those venues. I see the game from a different perspective. I worked the national championship game in 2019 in January, so that was a lot of fun, and I just enjoy doing it. I mean, it's a great release from day-to-day operations here at the hospital. But it also has its stressors too. So you got to prepare and you got to be ready. But it's just a lot of fun.
So Gene Steratore, the guy in the little box up in the corner of the screen, he's your boss.
Not now. He was my boss when I was in Division II, and what a great boss to work for. A lot of knowledge in football, and I credit him with where I'm at today.
The community is going to have a chance to meet you. You've got some meet and greets and some other community events coming up, and I know you're anxious to meet as many people within the system and in the community as you can in the days and weeks ahead.
I am. I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy to be here in Jackson. Happy that we can have an opportunity to make a difference in the community with the hospital, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody and partnering with everybody.
It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure, and we could sit here all day, but I know you have other guests.
Well, we'll probably see more of you. We have Henry Ford Presents Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday, so I'm sure we'll see you probably pretty soon.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Jarrod.
Thank you.
The new president at Henry Ford Jackson Hospital, Jarrod Johnson.